If you or someone you know has diabetes, you may have built up an extra supply of test strips and lancets. That's where we come in. We'll buy the supplies that you don't need and resell them to those in need to prevent waste. Help us make diabetes management more affordable. Visit us at teststripswithaz.com.
All right, we have one of the big winners of last weekend's UFC Mexico City event. Not only that, one of the bonus winners and the owner of one of the very best knockouts of the year, picking up, I believe, only the 7th spinning back fist knockout in UFC history, doing so over Martin Bravo. Stephen Ocho Peterson is here on the program for the first time. How are you, man?
I am awesome. And fun fact, that's the only reverse spinning back fist in UFC history. So the only counter spinning back fist, he threw a spinning back fist, I reversed it, and so got one for the books right there. First one.
Look at you making history in Mexico City. How did you get that information? Once you landed that, did you start doing your research, reaching out to people to try to figure out, obviously just getting a spinning back fist knockout, being number 7 is pretty cool, but now you're number 1 in this certain type of spectrum when it comes to that kind of knockout. How did you find that information?
Yeah, I watched all the other spinning back fist knockouts, all 7 of them, and it's only the only reverse, so that's pretty cool.
Did you tell a lot of people once you found that out?
Yeah, well, yeah. You got to let them know.
I mean, but with that, also certainly a lot to digest with that victory and that performance last weekend in Mexico City, with all the variables attached to it, the losing streak heading into it, the first finish for you in the UFC, your first individual bonus in the UFC, a lot going on. Fair to say that last Saturday was the best night of your career?
100%, definitely the best night of my career. It's been a long time coming. I've been, throwing that move for a long time, kind of perfecting it in training. When I was 19 or even younger, I used to throw that with reckless abandon, and my training partners would get hit with it, and they'd go down, and they'd be like, "Nah, man, you can't do that." And I'd be like, "Hey, it's a viable strike." So, throughout my career, I started, controlling it more and being a little nicer to my training partners, so I could, actually land it, but not have to throw it so hard. And that's when you can really perfect a move is, if you're able to control it, how hard you land it, and, when you throw it.
I know that's something you've worked on personally for a while, but obviously you're at Fortis MMA and you guys are brilliant. That whole team is brilliant right now, just on this incredible run, this incredible streak. Was the spinning back fist, did you see an opening as you guys were preparing for this fight? Was there something you guys saw in the film or something Safe saw in the film that led you to believe that this could happen in this fight, that opening would be there for you?
We know I was going to finish him. We didn't know how. I thrive in chaos, so I had to create a chaotic environment in there. And, in those moments, I'm able to just slow it down, and I'm kind of just in a flow state. And it wasn't something I planned on doing, but when he turned to throw the spinning back fist, first you turn your head to look for your opponent over your shoulder. And I seen him turn his head out. I was throwing my jab, so I was like, okay, well, when he turns his head around, I'm not going to be there. I'm not going to be where he was looking for me to be. So I moved, immediately evaded his strike, and then I was just in perfect position to throw my own.
How did your coach and your team react to that, knowing that you threw it? I mean, being a coach, I've coached little league baseball and stuff like that, and kids basketball, and I know when little kids try to shoot threes, I'm like, oh my God, really? And then the 3 goes in, you're like, yay, I'm a genius. I can't believe that just happened. Was it a similar type of thing, or were your coaches like, I knew you were going to do that, I'm so happy you threw that shot, or were they a little worried about it?
Yeah. Throughout my career, I started off really mild, just throwing all kinds of crazy techniques. And then I've kind of honed it in and learned to just throw them at the right times. And, coach was like, I knew you were going to get the finish. It was expected of me to win that fight. And we knew I wasn't going to win on the judges' scorecards. I had to finish them somehow. And, he's like, that's all you, man. That's all you. You've been doing that since the beginning of your career. And you've perfected that move, and you earned this one.
How many times did you say you've drilled that spinning back fist since you started drilling it for the first time? Thousands, hundreds of thousands?
Probably hundreds of thousands. I've been doing this 11 years, so just countless times. It's just muscle memory, more of a reaction at this point.
Do you remember landing one more flush than that one in your career?
Not outside of training. Well, I never put somebody out like that. Like, man, I was scared that he wasn't going to get up.
What did that feel like in the moment? I mean, that visual, that sound, that thump, the way the crowd reacted to it. I mean, it was pretty phenomenal stuff watching it on television. What does it feel like to land a shot like that in that moment, both from a physical and I guess a mental perspective?
Yeah, when I landed, it was smooth like butter. The connection was just smooth, like it went straight through. And I immediately just felt, on one hand, overwhelmed. On the other hand, it was just like a huge weight off my shoulders. Like you said, I was, on that 2-fight losing streak, 2 questionable decision losses. In my mind, fights I very well could have won. So I went, I need to get a finish, and my back was against the wall, and I got to show the world how I respond when my back's against the wall.
I mean, you've been in some really exciting fights, and the UFC tends to favor those guys who put on exciting fights, win or lose. But did you feel like this was a do or die kind of fight for you? Like, you'd lost your last 2, you were 1-3 in the UFC heading into it. Did you feel that extra pressure, thinking that, like, man, if I don't win this fight, my UFC career could be over?
It's always do or die. It's always go for broke, win or die trying. And I go in there with that mentality, and that's why my fights are so exciting. As far as my UFC career, say I would have dropped that one and they would have let me go, I would have got right back on my horse. I would have kept going. I would have got some wins, and I would have got back to the UFC. Luis Smoka, he went 0-4 in his first UFC fights, and then he earned his way back to the UFC, and now look at him. He's doing actually really, really well. So, guys like us that refuse to quit, we're always going to be a problem, and I'm going to accomplish my goals without a doubt.
And then, to really have a moment like that, to finish the fight the way that you finished it, to sort of be the belle of the ball of that event, in my opinion, especially with how the main event played out between Yair and Jeremy Stephens. What does that mean to you to not only get a win that you needed very badly, but be one of the focal points, one of the shining stars coming out of that event?
Yeah, I think that kind of made me a star. One of my goals in my career is to be a star, to be a household name. And I think with that knockout, I did just that. Outside of just that event, it made ESPN on Facebook. It's had 4.4 million views. TMZ did an interview about it. Forbes wrote about it. It's at top 5 on SportsCenter. It's absolutely everywhere. And I'm one of those guys that can bring new fans to the sport.
Is it what you expected, sort of getting that instant notoriety like you've just gotten? Like, you landed a knockout, you're doing interviews with TMZ, Forbes is writing you up, you're on ESPN's top 10. Things have probably gotten a little bit crazy over these last 5 or 6 days. Is it what you expected? Has it gone beyond expectations? What has the last 6 days been like for you?
It's what I dreamed of since I was a kid. I've been working for this, and I knew it was going to pay off eventually. I just, you just don't know when. You just don't know when, and it just happened overnight. But yet it didn't. It was 11 years in the making. I've been dreaming about this, and you got to go out there and just live in the moment, enjoy every bit of it, the ups and downs. Use the downs to drive you to be better. And I expected to at some point in my career. I just didn't know when.
Was there a point for you that you were just like, man, I don't know if this is going to happen for me? You know what I mean? Like, you've been through a lot in your career. That was your 27th fight. And you obviously have this hunger and this drive. You've been dreaming about this moment for a long time. Was there a moment for you where you're like, man, I just don't know if this is going to happen for me?
Never lose faith, man. Never lose faith. Always keep trying. Things will work out eventually. So as long as you never give up, I never gave up faith. I knew I would make, a name for myself in this sport.
Have you always been like that sort of drive, that passion, that eye for the prize, or is that something you've learned since you got into martial arts and sort of picked up even more and more as your career has progressed?
I was born like that, with that drive, with that passion. Always getting up after you fall. When I was a kid, I got picked on. Kids would pick on me, so I'd fight back. And if they were bigger than me and they beat me up, it would be like, I'd get up, be like, whatever, like big chest, chin up, like I'm not done fighting. I'm not done fighting until I'm dead. And they'd get tired of beating me up. And, eventually when I was fighting kids my size, even if I was losing, if you never give up, eventually you end up on top. And then I get to, finish the fight on top and be like, hey, who's on? Like, you might have beat me up the first 10 minutes, but you got tired. Like, I wish this sport was more like that, like more like you fight to the finish, no rounds, no timer, finishes only. That would be, I would never lose.
That story is like a metaphor for your MMA career right now. Do you kind of feel that when you tell that story back? Like, eventually your time's going to come, everyone else is going to get tired, you're going to rise up, you're going to get on top, and you're going to have your moment. Is that accurate?
That's what defines me as a human being, in and out of the sport. 100%.
To be a fighter, to get in a cage and fight another human being, there's obviously a ton of fuel and motivation attached to that. You're obviously a very driven guy. Coming out of this event in Mexico City, coming away with one of the best knockouts of 2019, are you now more motivated, more hungry than ever before?
Yeah, I'm more motivated in life. I'm just super driven right now to capitalize on the newfound fame. I want to live my dreams since I was a kid. I wanted to be famous. I wanted to do acting. I wanted to drift race cars and do all kinds of rally races and all that stuff. I feel like this will open doors for me outside of the sport. I want to do commercials, endorsements, and as long as I stay motivated, I'm gonna accomplish all those goals. Monday morning, I go back to the gym, not to get a pat on the back, but to go back to work, because this is what I enjoy doing. I live the fight fit lifestyle. I love rolling. I love sparring. I love it all. So, it's what defines me.
I feel like before I move on to the last couple of questions, I have a question that everyone's going to want to know the answer to. It's very important here now that I've seen it and now that it's visualized in my head. Where did you get that shirt?
I think
That's
it was
amazing.
One of those Instagram or Facebook ads leading up to 4th of July or something. I was like, got to. Tatted up Abe Lincoln. Got to, man.
I share a birthday with Abe Lincoln. That's why it kind of stuck out to me. I was like, is that Abe Lincoln? Because as you're moving around, I couldn't really tell. And then at one point,
tatted. He's all tatted.
That is amazing. That is unbelievable. Have you had people reach out to you since the win saying we want to sponsor you, or we want you to do some commercials, some voiceovers for us? Have you had that happen yet?
Yeah, just working on the logistics, getting contracts, and getting checks signed. So yes, 100%. Everybody's all over it right now. I'm gonna be spinning into commercials everywhere you see.
Man, what a difference! How long does it take to throw a spinning back fist like that? 1 second? What a difference 1 second makes in your life, right?
Yeah, it was just 1 second, but years and years of working and contemplation.
Unbelievable. I know it's been less than a week since the big win. You're heading back to the gym on Monday. Are you already thinking about how to build upon this in terms of when you'd like to return? Do you want to get another one in before the year is out? What is on your mind in that regard right now?
Yeah, I'm already back in training. I went, this Monday. I've been training this week, but
What?
I'm going to stay in shape and be ready for a big opportunity. I talked to Sean. He expects me to take some time off since I did 2 fights back to back. That was 3 this year so far. But I told him I want to fight by the end of the year. If somebody drops off one of these big cards, or you have somebody dangerous and nobody wants to fight, throw me in there, man.
So you took no time to smell the roses. I guess maybe Sunday to smell the roses, and then you're right back in there Monday. No time off at all.
Yeah, just loving it. Loving it.
Anyone in particular? I mean, obviously you'll get slotted in wherever the UFC wants you to, but if the UFC called you right now and said, realistically, who do you want to fight? Who are you telling them?
Give me Alex Caceres, man. Tell him not to run from it.
You want that one back? Be a different fight this time around?
100%. Especially if I start talking a little trash and get him to not run from me. That's what Kron did, and it seemed to work out because he, sat down and threw some punches, and ended up getting taken down, choked out real quick. So, just the only way he wins a fight against me is if he runs from me the whole time.
You've touched on this a little bit, but I kind of want to round out with this because I think it's really important. I'm a big believer that anybody could be watching this interview at any time. And your road to this point, especially in the UFC, it has not been an easy one at all, but it's something that you clearly love and you have this passion for. The type of pressure that went into that last fight was probably a lot to think about, but you got through it all. You gave everybody a memorable moment to boot. And I'm sure at Fortis MMA, you have some young fighters who are coming up in the sport. And maybe outside of the gym, you run into fighters who are getting into the sport. Maybe some are having a hard time making sense of it all. I'm sure every fighter goes through that point at one time in their career. What's your advice to, I guess, a young fighter getting in the game, or maybe even for that veteran fighter that questions themselves at a certain point in their career? What would you say to those folks?
The sport's not for everybody. If you don't love it, if it doesn't define you, then don't do it, because there's so many things that you can do in life that are so much easier, so much more instant gratification. This is the type of thing, it takes years to get any kind of gratification. But if you do love it, don't ever question yourself. Don't ever quit. Don't ever let yourself get down. As long as you never quit and you keep moving forward and keep getting better, then you'll end up where you want to be.
Stephen Ocho Peterson, everybody. One of the big stars coming out of UFC Mexico City. The sky is the limit right now. Look at you getting endorsement calls, all this crazy stuff going on, all the work to get to just a huge knockout, a huge moment of 2019. I appreciate you joining me on the show today. But before we let you go, man, I'm going to give the floor to you to let everyone know where to find and follow, where all these Johnny-come-latelys can come jump on and follow you and see where this journey is going to head. Any shout-outs, anything else you want to get off your chest, the floor is yours.
Yeah, first of all, I want to thank my coach, Saif Saud, my team at Fortis MMA, just staying active. Shout out to Macy. She's fighting on Saturday. She's going to do work. I want to give a shout out to all my sponsors, Fight Fit Lifestyle, Knuckle Up Tattoo, Solace Saunas, Fit Meals Prep, Hutchins Barbecue, Door to Door Shuttle. And, anybody looking to follow me, hit me up on Instagram and Twitter at Ocho08 and Facebook, Stephen Ocho Peterson.
Thank you for the time, Stephen. Continued success. Enjoy this moment, and we'll see you back in there hopefully later on this year.
Yeah, I appreciate your time, bro.